A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to another episode of Man Up. My name is James Okumu. Mwanaume, vuta stool karibu na TV. We have an interesting conversation to get into. Last week, we began a conversation looking at the man and money and asking why is it that men don't take financial literacy classes, or they don't take financial literacy seriously, and we didn't quite finish that discussion. So we are moving on into part 2 of that discussion this evening. I have the same guests I was hanging out with last week. We have Patrick Wameo, financial literacy coach. Patrick, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Karibu
Very
sana.
good. Yes.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
We also have author, coach, accountant, Robert Bell. How are you doing?
I'm feeling wonderful. Thank
Great.
you. Thank you, Pastor, for having us here.
Let's just pick up from where we left off last week. You know, last week we looked at some of the reasons why men find it hard sometimes to take some of these financial literacy classes and just get to know more about money and how to handle it and how to spend it. How do we change this narrative? Is it even possible to change this narrative?
It's absolutely possible. We're human beings. Our brains are neuroplastic. They can be changed and rewired, but it takes effort. I think the first thing that we have to recognize, we have, like what we discussed last week, we have not been taught directly about money and financial matters in our society growing up. And there's one thing about life. You can't learn while you're healing.
Oh.
It's very difficult to learn while you're healing.
Okay.
Imagine you're in the hospital, in a hospital bed. You've just come from surgery. You can't start asking the doctor, okay, what happened, this, what do I need to change? You need a few days to heal, to get ready to start learning. And what men need to do is first heal from whatever wounds they might have around money. Maybe you grew up in poverty, maybe you've wasted money, maybe you're in debt. It's good to acknowledge it. Acknowledge it and say, this has affected me, and begin a process of healing. Of course, healing is continuous. It doesn't just end today, tomorrow. But you first have to heal from it. If you don't heal from it, you're going to block yourself from learning, from exposing yourself. Going back to our scenario in the hospital, if you're in the hospital bed, the doctor can't start explaining every single thing to you. The primary thing the doctor wants is for you to heal, to get to a point where you can now make changes, learn how to act in this new environment, a change of mindset. So it's first identifying and acknowledging that there's some hurt. Go to the healing. I know as men, you hear the word healing, you think it's but healing,
therapy.
Yeah, healing can be very active, right? Healing can be very active. It doesn't have to be passive. That whoa, yeah, me, you know. Healing is about restoring, right? Healing is about regenerating. Okay. So when we start that process, then we can now look at making the changes. Okay.
You know, I'm just thinking, Patrick.
Yes.
This whole issue of money. Okay, we are taught that we need to get a lot of it, so to speak, and we are striving to get a lot of it, but no one taught us how to manage what we have and how to grow it. And so it's almost like a catch-22 situation, where you're trying to chase after something you don't know how to get and you don't know how to manage even when you get it.
One, I cannot say that no one taught us. It's just the process of teaching.
And what we learned.
Because through the process of parenting, or in the environment of nurture, we learn everything, including the management of the affairs. Now, money itself is not an issue, because money is inside something. So I want to start with what money is inside. We can actually appreciate that we learned money.
As we think the other way around, the other things
when your parents are running their affairs of home, money is part of what they do, because money is a facilitator. So when you are being sent to school and fees is being paid, money facilitates the process.
Very true.
When he is or she is doing say rental units, money is facilitating the process of investment in rental units to produce money. So money is seen behind the first choice. Money is facilitative. So that what you learn is either how to do it, then money will come into it, or you don't learn how to do anything at all. So depending on the environment in which you are exposed, if you're exposed to parents who are both, say, salaried, and they get money and spend on running the house, everything runs very well. The month ends, another one starts, and the month ends, and 30 years have passed. you haven't been exposed to investment activities.
Yeah.
You will still know how to manage money, but you need to expose yourself, yourself now. You
Yeah.
need to come to a place where you're saying, I need to learn how to invest. So that contrast brings another very different situation. But a person who went through a very natural, smooth process, by the time they realize they don't know so much, it is very late in life.
Okay.
It is when the hormones at the age of 35 or slightly after wake you up, because that's when you begin to realize I'm aging,
Yes.
I'm no longer young,
Yeah.
I'm in between, and looks like I have nothing. So depending on how you acknowledge,
Confession.
then you can start learning.
Yeah. You know, that's one of the wounds that I would say a man needs to start with.
Oh.
We say it in our words. You know, one of the most important words that we speak in life are the words we speak to ourselves.
Yeah.
Not anything else. The words we speak about ourselves. And oftentimes we speak words of victimhood upon ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't speak words of victory. So for example, we sit and say, I was not taught about money. You know, that speaking is testifying of a mindset of, oh yeah, no one sorted me, so this is where I am. There's nothing behind that says, I want to overcome that.
Yeah, you're not taking responsibility.
You take responsibility. So
Yeah.
the biggest wound is, and sadly as men, is that our parents, your nurture, will never be sufficient to teach you about money. Even if your parents are millionaires, billionaires, and they're the best investors, whatever, it's never sufficient. Because you will learn at a young age, and you grow and progress through life. Life
Yeah.
changes, you're exposed to different environments.
Yeah.
So you must first acknowledge that you must continuously learn. So that wound, the first wound that we must deal with, is that accept that your parents, no matter how much loving they are, whoever they are, will never be your only source about learning about money.
Okay.
So look at the words that we're speaking. We can't say, I was not taught about money. We need to change the narrative and say, I want to learn more about managing money. I want to get better at managing money.
Okay.
That is how we start to change it.
Okay. You know, last week you told us you have 5 things.
Yes.
And you only gave us 1. Was it 1 or was it 3/4?
There are actually, I've actually talked about a lot of those 5 things. But let me just make this quote, which is not my original quote.
Yes.
We either fail because we have done nothing. Okay? Or, you know, we do things, we have done things without thinking, or we think about things without doing something about them. Like the path I've just described here in the last few minutes.
Yeah.
Out of that process, you require you require a set of values, how you approach life. Values are basically the things we hold as important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if wealth is important to you, you have the value of accumulation. You will naturally have the value of accumulation. And it comes in the form of a strong desire for some savings and a strong desire for multiplication.
Yes.
He has his value for accumulation. You have your values for accumulation. I have mine.
Yeah.
Where you has rank among the 10, is it number 10? Is it number 8? Is it number 1? Is it number 2? Will determine how you behave very strongly. So what I mentioned last week, which was one of the key things I was taught by my coach, was the place of values in determining how we behave. Up to where you are confessing that I have failed. So where was your value of accumulation before that date, which is the date of reconnaissance? When you're saying, sorry, I'm 35 and I have nothing.
But many of us...
No, hold on. When you arrive there, when you arrive at that process where you're saying, I am 35 and I have nothing.
Yes.
Where is your value of accumulation? Is it number 10? Is it number 8? Is it number 1 in ranking? It can't be number 1, 2, or 3. It won't be there. Which means that immediately you recognize that you have not arrived where you ought to be at 35.
Yeah.
Then the things, the values that occupy space number 1, space number 2, and space number 3 have to occupy lower value. Some of them, one of them has to occupy a lower ranking. And that value of accumulation has to come up. How does it come up? You change your behaviors starting that moment by what you do, because we build behaviors to do the tasks that we perform.
Yes.
So one of the tasks you have to start doing is recognizing that I have no savings and start saving a portion of the income you earn immediately. Number two, you have to recognize that I'm spending too much and rationalize all the items you spend on. Rationalizing means you identify them by their names and question the amounts that go to them. And then where you have some excesses, you chip off a little. So that accumulation begins to become real. Because already by the time you are acknowledging, you will have no money to do anything with. You've got to reduce these expenses to bring some money back.
The thing is this.
Yes.
If you talk to many people, they will tell you they have a value of accumulating, but they have nothing to accumulate. They will say, the other day I was doing a show, and we were talking about financial traps of the middle class, and we were talking about not investing. And there's one gentleman who sent in an SMS, and he said, what your guests are saying sounds very nice, but on the ground things are different. And he said, I earn 15,000. What can somebody do with 15,000 in this Nairobi of ours?
Let's face it.
That's a good question.
All teachers,
Yes.
primary school teachers, 700,000 of them don't earn 100,000 shillings. And if you go to any village in Kenya, they run the economy. What do? Your teacher walked to school, cycled to school many years, saving only 500 bob or 1,000 in his circle, with an objective of borrowing a loan and using it to create something, to move them from where they are. And when I go back today, I'm 52. And I go back, the guy who taught me, he's actually just retired recently, about 4 years ago. He has a wholesale.
Really?
Today. He has 2 pickups today, with a salary of a Form 2 school leaver. So the question of a salary is not, it's just what I've told you here. You've got to rationalize 100 bob saved per week. Because someone who earns 15,000 bob can save 100 bob per week. Why? How? Look at this. Let's do it practically. This is your list. This is your paper. List all the things you spend money on a daily basis. List all the things you spend money on a weekly basis. And then you list all the things you spend money on a monthly basis. Then question the how. For example, you spend money on transport. If you walk already, you're not spending any money on transport. You've already justified, that's out. If you spend money on transport, just a picky somewhere, if you drop that picky, will you die?
No.
If you have only 15,000? No. Then ask, what if I have to wake up earlier to drop that picky? So the behavior change of waking up earlier will enable you save that 50 bob. That 50 bob saved every day, 5 days, is 250 shillings. Saved in a month is 1,000 bob. Taken to a circle, 12 times is 12,000 bob. So you're not at zero where you were at the beginning of the year. So someone can't tell me that when I earn 15,000 bob, I remain in the same state because I earn 15,000 bob. The 50 bob creates something. After about 3 years of saving 12,000 bob, 12,000 bob, 12,000 bob, you've got 36,000 shillings. Multiply by 3 is 100K. If you borrow that money and go to your village, you can do a good, self-contained, semi-permanent house with a salary of 15,000 shillings.
I think then, and we'll talk about this because we need to take a break. I think then back to what you said, I see a connection here then with the mindset and the values. Because I think sometimes we don't even know what values we hold on to because we are not looking at our behaviors. Because I believe our behavior is an expression of our values, because you talked about changing behavior. So this whole mindset and this whole value thing, how do we really scrutinize this so that we know how it's affecting our finances? We'll talk about that in a bit. Man up, we are talking about why men won't take financial lessons. This is the second part. And if you have a thought, if you have maybe an experience you'd want to share with us concerning this whole topic, you can feel free to do so by text on 20316, WhatsApp 0786 316 316. We're taking a short break. We'll be back.
Tomorrow on The Corner.
She's doing numbers online. Her business is going, and now wewe.
I was psyched. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that.
And then the numbers told me, relax, relax, calm down, where are you going?
Not everything that comes to our mind is the truth.
Yeah.
In fact, our mind tends to lie to us a lot of the time.
We are discussing self-esteem issues and self-worth issues.
Don't miss out on The Corner tomorrow at 8:30 p.m.
Why men won't take financial lessons, part 2. It is Man Up. My name is James Okumu. I'm hanging out with Patrick Wameo and Robert Bell. As I was saying earlier, mindset, values. Because from the example I was giving of this gentleman, then we need a mind shift,
Yes,
on how we look at finances. Because we want a lot, but we don't know how to get there. And whatever we have, we seem to think it's not enough. Yeah.
I think picking up on what Patrick was saying and the illustration of 15,000, I used to work in the telecoms industry. And even it holds true, especially in Kenya.
Yeah.
The biggest earners for telecom industry when it comes to airtime is 20 shillings and below. That's what generates most of the airtime revenue. Not people who spend 5,000, 1,000, etc. Because you see, the mindset there is that it's 20 shillings, it's 10 shillings. You just spend. Now, in my work as an accountant, I will sit with you if you're earning 15,000. How much do you spend in airtime a month? Let's start there. How much as it is? Because that informs me a particular behavior that you have. And then we look at your values. Who are you calling? Is it your family back in home, etc.? Is this aligning with your values? Or is it just friends, you're just talking? So we first need to understand what's happening there. If it's a very important value, it's ranked as the top 3, as he said. Then we say, all right, it seems like on average you spend 200 shillings a month on airtime. A lot of service providers have bundle packages where you can even get the same amount of airtime and data for even less. But you must pay upfront at once. But you see, the mindset is like, I can't spend 300 shillings.
That's a lot of money.
Yes, you're like, hey, I can't spend 300 shillings on airtime. But if we add the 20 shillings you have been spending, it's probably even 1,000 at times, which is, compared to a 15% salary, is a very huge percentage of your income, right? So it's looking at that, as you said, the mindset and the value. So the mindset of 20 shillings, you'll find it. I find, even myself, when I work with people maybe who earn 15,000, right? Airtime is one of the things. Airtime and data, constantly online. What are you doing online? It's just 20 shillings. You know, because now you can even get a data bundle of 20 shillings a day, something like that. And you buy, and it's on auto renew and buy and buy and buy. So it's that mindset changing. And going back to this illustration, my core mantra of my life is an acronym MAMI, which stands for minor adjustments that give you major improvement. Just small. Right? What I find in life is just a series of small changes. And that small changes is, as he said, identifying where are those small things. I'll give you an example to add to your situation. So someone who earns 15,000, maybe has decided to start walking. Will go to a kibanda every morning, take 3 pieces of chapo, mandazi, tea, on credit. The next day, the same thing. The next day, the same thing. So now, your values is clearly showing that you value debt because you're like, it's just 20 shillings, 10 shillings. And I pass those places sometimes I just go and hang out there. And you can hear the ladies who are selling chai and so on saying, hey, this week your bill is very high. I'll sort it. When I get paid, I'll sort it. So then that's how the money keeps going. So in your mind, it's tukidogo because of the lifestyle that you're trying to live around that. So we can change the mindset by sitting and really looking, right back to what we're saying, the values, looking at the values. You know, it's said that money is a very excellent servant, but a horrible master. Horrible master. What that means is that when you don't take control of your finances, when you don't take control of your money, it will run you down and it will feed your vices and it will be merciless. It will keep feeding you. So that's one of the things that we do to improve our financial education, to improve our money understanding. Write it down.
Explain that further. Just adding exactly what he has said. Money is
excellent servant.
An excellent servant,
but a horrible
master. Let's put it in perspective. So that we don't, because this is where the disease is. This is where the disease is. Money does not spend itself.
No.
I must put my finger in the pocket or I must touch my phone. You've got to cost that disengage. And that starts here. So by aligning your desires to what matters to you most, that's how the value of accumulation gets its place. It's just about minor adjustments that make major improvements. If I have not realigned that, if I have not realigned what is in my mind where money must go, so that those I make the minor adjustments that give me major improvements. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Because Okumu, you know me very well.
Yes.
I've had a stroke twice, not once.
Yes.
And I'm sitting here like I've never had one.
Very true. Very true.
I moved out of my house in South Sea and went to live in Rongai.
Yes.
And people talk about Rongai with jams. I never had a jam in Rongai once.
Yes.
Because I have a habit of waking up at the right time to leave Rongai at exactly 5:30 a.m. And I was dropping my boy in class 7 in his school before I go to work in Nairobi.
Yes.
And that boy, then I just changed his lifestyle. So he would now do his homework in the morning, in school, rather than doing it at home.
Yeah.
So he sleeps early because I will wake up early and I will drop him in school where there is light anyway.
Yeah.
He will do his homework. He did and passed with 400 marks. He wasn't stressed. He changed his lifestyle and I changed mine. So we changed our things. Why was I driving out of Rongai at 5 a.m. and 5:30 to avoid any jam? Because one, I had just left work. And I didn't have money. So I didn't want to spend a lot of money on fuel. So I had a fixed amount of 5,000 to spend on fuel for a week. And I did it. Because a habit repeated becomes a behavior. Repeated develops a character. A character around that which you would like to produce. So with the little money, I've been able to adjust. So it's a question of you can't do it.
You don't look at the amount. You're looking at the behavior change.
That's where I was
So
going.
sometimes we think,
pattern.
the pattern. Sometimes we think saving 10 shillings is useless. No, but you're behaving. Last week we talked about believing, behaving, becoming. That is how we are wired psychologically. You believe, then you behave to reinforce that belief, and then consistently, that behavior consistent enough helps you to become that person. It's called man up. So man enough means we must believe that we can change. Then we behave in that manner. Even if it's 10 shillings, do the consistency, and then we become that. Psychologists tells us, you do things that you're proficient in or you're familiar with very quickly. Because you come here, you do this show, you don't need to think. If you ask Patrick or I to sit there and host, we'll be like, what do I do next? You have to do it slowly. Anything you're doing for the first time or something new, an unfamiliar thing, you have to do it slowly. So slowly build up 10 shillings, 20 shillings. That is how we're going to change it. So men, you do it slowly. If you're not disciplined or committed to save 10 shillings a day or 100 shillings a week, then what are you saying? You're saying that accumulation doesn't matter. And accumulation doesn't matter if it's 10 shillings, 10,000, 100,000, or a million. It's the power of accumulation. So it is very much possible by taking one step at a time. On top of that, it's a very difficult thing because we have to recognize the pressures of life. And I think that's one thing that we should hit, as men. He was alluding to it. The pressures of life. We see our friends doing this. We want to do it. And so we get into debt. We get into borrowing. We get into, I want to wear a nice suit like that. You don't even know. I don't know where you got your suit.
Maybe I was given.
Yes, I don't know. Maybe you blessed, someone just decided to bless you. But I was like, you know what, I want to look. And it's okay to admire. It's okay to want to desire to improve your life. But ask questions. Find out deals. A lot of my friends say, you're always looking for deals. It's not that I'm trying to penny pinch, but I always want to see where can I get value. Asking information. You'll be so surprised that him and I can buy the exact same item at a different price.
Very true.
We will buy it at a very different price. Because you need to look and understand how economies of things work, right? Where to get things. I gave the example of airtime. You just look for bundles, then you can get cheaper options, etc. But I'll say on top of it as a solution also, planning. Notice I said planning, not plans, not have a plan.
Planning.
Because I read somewhere and someone said it and it really hit me. Plans are worthless, but planning is priceless. You see, planning is a continuous process. When you have a plan, no one knows the exact future. And when you're planning your finances, you may not see everything. Many times when I have coaching clients who come and we do a budget, I get a message 2 days, 3 days later. Oh, by the way, there's some expenses that I do. I just realized I never put them in my budget.
Exactly.
Because we gave a task. I gave a task, go do it, come back. At the end of the week, we did a budget. The budget showed there was surplus. When the week was over, it was in negative. I didn't ask any questions. The clients would constantly tell me, actually, there's some stuff I've been doing, I've never been recording, right? So when I say planning is priceless, because in doing, you plan. One of the best ways to plan is by doing.
Is by doing.
Right? So
Yeah.
you write a plan, but then you also see for deviations, you make adjustments as you go along. And as he said, everyone has waste.
Yeah.
And I see it all the time. Write a budget down. Men, write down your budget, as he says, name them. This is the income. Write it down and then see where you end up. After that, compare what you actually did with that
That's
plan.
what you had written down.
Yes.
Perhaps we should be saying that plans are not intended to make you necessarily rich, but to help you learn. Because it is at the review point,
That
at
yes,
the checkpoint.
yeah.
Yes.
And you know, I always send
milestones.
out a message at the end of each quarter.
Oh, yeah.
Is the time to get that check. Because it is not about what you intended to do, but what did you do well? What did you do well? And the why around it, the lessons are the most important things.
Yeah.
One man I like his work, and I always go around his work, says that it is the fun of going through it, the learning
Yeah.
that changes how you do things.
Yeah.
It is not the output.
No.
You'll miss it. 3-4 years, you've missed it. I've missed many targets. Even today, I have a target I've missed. But the truth is that then I'm able to ask, what did I do? What should I have done? Then you get better by adjusting minor adjustments,
Yes.
major improvements.
Major improvements.
That's the whole thing. And if you don't do that, the planning process gives you an end,
Yes.
something you want to go through, something you want to achieve. To get there, you will not be here. You will be somewhere there, having not reached the place, but very
But
far
you've
away
made some
from where you
progress.
started.
Yeah.
That change is here, is in the mind. You don't experience it unless you've gone through it.
Gentlemen, my time is almost up. I'll give each one of you a minute. What's your parting shot?
There is no shop where a man will go and buy financial literacy solutions. People fail
Yes.
either because they do things without thinking, or they think too much about things and don't do them.
Yes.
Behavior change is all you need. It will catapult you. Just that.
Awesome. Parting shot.
Very similar. I think we tend to share a lot of notes. Research shows us that people tend to regret things they have not done as opposed to things they have done. Now, wherever you are in your financial journey, you have made mistakes, you have failed. Don't fear failing some more. Try, learn, adapt, make a change, write a budget, get a coach. Try something. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, you still learn, but just don't fail twice. That's one thing I always tell people. Never fail twice. Failing twice means you failed at an action, but you've also failed to learn the lesson. That's failing twice, and that is fatal. When you fail twice, it's fatal. So learn to fail once and rise back up.
Gentlemen, my time is up. I have to close this financial literacy shop. But I hope you've been able to pick something. I love the practical examples that our guests have given today. If you're that person who's thinking 15,000 bob, sio pesa mingi, there's nothing much you can do from it, I hope you've learned something today. Haba na haba, Mswahili akasema, hujaza kibaba. Let's not look at the here and now. Let's look at it long term and see how we can grow it. Thank you so much for being a part of Man Up. Until next week, have a great evening.
Fresh, insightful, and in-depth stories from current affairs, opinion, inspiration, lifestyle, church-related articles, and so much more on www.familynews.today. Insights at your fingertips.